Hey guys, welcome to today's reading. Today we are going to be seeing what you need to hear, what you need to know, be aware of, maybe what you need to do differently in your life. We're going to be getting into all of it, and today we have a selection of cards for you to choose from. By the way, if you like how I read tarot and you want to see more of it, then you should go on over to my Patreon page. I just posted a reading all about how 2024 is going to surprise you and also your innate gifts and talents that you were born with. And then before that, I posted a fun, spicy 18 plus their late night thoughts about you reading. There's so much content over there to choose from, over 75 exclusive readings you'll only get access to on Patreon. You also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos, so you'll be the first to get to watch them. If all that sounds good to you and you want to join us, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me over on Patreon. So if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. And basically, you're going to see which of these cards is sticking out to you, calling your name, drawing your attention in towards it. And then as soon as you've made up your mind, just scroll down to the timestamps in the comments and the description and jump right into your pile. Also, if you would like to get a private session with me, get my undivided attention on whatever issue you have in your life, get me to answer whatever questions you may have, then you can go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and sign up for a one-on-one session with me. Whether you want me to pull tarot, read your astrology, just do an open channeling from spirit, all those things work, and we can do all of them during your session. And if you're interested, like I said, go to my website, briarrosetarot.com, and the link for that is in my description. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Now, if you need more time to decide, you can totally feel free to rewind, pause, and take as much time as you need. But we're going to go ahead and jump into pile one. Hey, pile one, welcome to your reading. So you guys got Dream Thief, Refusal of the Call, Horned Cactus, Resourcefulness, First Breath, Beginner's Mind, Heart Home, Compassion, Perfect Storm, the courage to step into life. So the first thing that I'm getting is some of you guys, maybe you've been through like a trauma in your life or just difficult situations, and it's almost like there's a wall up around you, energetically speaking, with this horned cactus card. Like, I feel like for some of you guys, there's a feeling of not even trusting going out there in the world, like keeping yourself away from everything, keeping everything at bay from you and kind of like at a distance, maybe not letting people in, maybe not wanting to get super close. And even for like events in your life, you may find yourself being like unemotional at times to things that you should be emotional about, or kind of like keeping yourself away. I almost feel like there's an energy of not being out there in the world, not really trusting it or allowing things to affect you, you know? And I think sometimes we do this out of a sense of protection, like, let me look after myself, let me protect myself. But sometimes what inadvertently happens is you keep yourself from experiencing life. So I feel like for you, there's almost like a need for you to give yourself the permission to be messy or to make mistakes or to mess things up. And like to, yeah, like giving yourself that permission that like, yeah, maybe it's not perfect, and maybe you do look stupid, maybe you do get your heart broken, maybe you do fail at a job, but that's okay, and it's not the end of the world. And that's the thing about life, is like, if you can reframe how you look at life from, oh my God, it's so serious, I need to be perfect all the time, to like, we're put on this planet to grow. Earth is a school that we choose to go to. You're not going to be so upset. Like, it's reminding me of when I was in middle school and I was awful at different sports. And so my parents and the school would always have me like trying out different sports, and I hated all of them. I'm not an athletic, something about my Aquarius ascendant, I hate like the rules in sports. So every time I would just do a bad job, and then it would be like, oh, let's pivot to another sport. But no one made a big deal of it. No one was like, oh my God, you know, we're throwing you out of the school, or you're kicked out of the home, like you're not allowed to come back because you were bad at field hockey. And it was like, to me, it didn't feel like a big deal. Like, even though I was bad at sports, I knew I was good at other things. And I think it's really important to kind of give yourself that grace to like try different things. Like, I bet when you were a kid, you probably tried different things as well, probably tried different hobbies, different sports, different whatever, different friend groups. And gave yourself that permission that it wasn't the end of the world if you were like a second grader trying soccer for the first time and you hated it. You know what I mean? And by the same token, why are we so hard on ourselves, or we expect ourselves to figure everything out all the time? Part of the beauty in life is like the trying different things, the diversity of experiences, the trying something and not liking it, trying a new food for the first time and being like, oh, that's not for me. That's okay. And maybe reframing it from like this serious, like, oh my God, I tried dating and I had a horrible first date. I'm never dating again, into like, oh, so that was a date. That was a bad date. The same way that I felt like, oh, yeah, so I guess I'm bad at field hockey. Oh, well, you know what I mean? Who cares? On to the next. Maybe like reframing things and not taking it so serious, I think is something that would be a really good idea for you guys, because I'm almost seeing like a need to be more open, or to just give yourself that permission. And I was reading, or I don't know if it was someone talking about it or something, but I came across something where someone was saying that they think that's a consequence of like the era we live in with smartphones. Like if you have a rough day and you're really upset and you're arguing with like a fast food worker or something, if they got your order wrong and you go in and you're in a bad mood, and then someone might film it and you'd be embarrassed and humiliated, and it might go viral. So instead you just kind of don't do anything. And so many people, like people were talking about how the club lately is so much lamer than it was in like the 2000s, the 2010s. And that's because everyone's kind of afraid of being filmed looking stupid, dancing, looking like an idiot. And I think there's probably some truth to that. We all kind of live with this awareness in the back of our mind that like, oh, I could be filmed, I could have someone see me and take a picture of me and post it online. And I feel like it's really important that we can make the individual choice that we're not going to let that influence our actions. Even if that's true, even if there is a slight risk that someone might film us doing something, or we might make a fool of ourselves or whatever. At the end of the day, it's our life. We have to live our lives for ourselves. And most of the time, as long as you're not doing anything too crazy, no one's going to even notice or care about anything you do regardless. So I just feel like for you guys though, it's going to take some conscious unpacking. It's like you're going to have to move through this and just choose to kind of give yourself a break and not take it so serious. And even you might try as a mantra something like, so what? I'm hearing that in my mind. So what? So like if something bad happens, even if you do online dating and oh my gosh, the only people that were online, they were all jerks, they all treated me really bad. So what? Okay, who cares? That doesn't change your worth. That doesn't change your value. It sucks if you had a bad experience, and not to take away from that or act like that's okay, but at the same time you're still the same beautiful, valuable person you were before, and it's not going to change anything intrinsically inside of you. So give yourself that freedom to go on bad dates and laugh it off and brush it off. Give yourself that freedom to try for a new job or a financial thing, and if you fail, so what? Open a new business, or I don't know, try to start a YouTube account or a TikTok account or whatever. Giving yourself that permission to fail, I feel like is going to be really, really important for you guys, because I do feel like your spirit guides want you to like come out of your shell a little bit. So let's get into some more cards. We want to know for what messages we have for pile one. Pile one, Spirit. The Queen of Swords, okay. Six of Pentacles. Something that's coming through about the Queen of Swords is like she's just very stoic. She's not so emotional. And I think that's something I've noticed with a lot of air signs. Sometimes people will be like, oh, air signs, they're so distant. They just don't care about anything. They don't care at all. And it's like, I do think there's a level of truth to that a lot of air signs kind of care less than water signs, that's for sure, and fire signs, and probably earth signs, like everyone. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Because sometimes you can get too overwhelmed. You can get sucked down into your emotions, kind of like that water energy, and next thing you know, you're in a whirlpool or you're underwater. You're like sinking to the bottom of this ocean. Whereas air signs keep things really light. They kind of keep things more surface level, and that also allows them them to try and to fail. You have like Aquarius, for example. Aquarius is the innovator and it is the inventor, and it's able to do that because it doesn't really care as much as like a Cancer does, you know? It's able to emotionally remove itself from the outcome so that it's able to try things and do things that maybe are unpopular or are having everyone else say like, oh my God, that's crazy. What is that Aquarius doing? They're so weird. They don't really care as much about that reaction in the way that, you know, maybe a Pisces would let it get under their skin. And so I think there's something we can really learn about that. And that's why air signs are associated with a high level of intelligence. They're really curious about the world. They don't get as bogged down into that like swamp of emotions. So maybe for you guys, this could be about stepping into that kind of like more impartial, less emotional vibe, just kind of being like, it is what it is, things happen, oh well. And kind of like accepting that people aren't going to like you. I think that's what a lot of Aquarians have, is like they're Saturn ruled, and they kind of accept that like, yeah, some people are going to think I'm crazy, some people are going to think I'm weird, but I don't really care. I feel like that's something that once you adjust yourself to that, once you stop allowing yourself to kind of fall down a rabbit hole of emotion every time, then it's a lot easier to maintain that. You know, once you can even emotionally distance yourself from like, yeah, you probably will get haters. You probably will get negative comments, especially if you're building something special. You probably will get people who have nasty stuff to say. And there's a level of needing to just ignore that. I'm also getting another message for pile one, where some of you guys maybe have faced that lately. Maybe you felt like you faced negativity, jealousy, hostility of some kind, and you have to know with the Seven of Wands that that's just a part of what you're doing, because I do feel like some of you guys are doing something really amazing, building something amazing. You are creating something, and there's going to be a level of jealousy or resentment that happens whenever you step outside a certain paradigm, because I do feel like pile one, you guys are being called to build something really cool, really different, really special. And especially when people perceive like a hierarchy with the Six of Pentacles, they may be resentful of that. If they perceive you as being better than them, then they're gonna probably get annoyed with that. And it's something that you're not going to be able to even prevent as you rise up in a certain rank or as you achieve success. You're just going to get some of that pushback, the jealousy, the resentment. And that's why it's important to be the Queen of Swords who doesn't let it get to her. She's so unemotional. You know, the Queen of Cups would probably be like feeling guilty, feeling bad for the person, being like, oh my gosh, I feel awful. The Queen of Wands would probably be willing to fight, you know, she'd get mad about it. But the Queen of Swords is going to just sit on her throne dispassionately and be like, okay, and who cares? And there's so much power in that. There's so much power in not allowing yourself to be swept away by someone else's emotions, not allowing their emotional state or what they're trying to do to you impact you. So maybe they're in a bad mood, maybe they're feeling upset, and we don't have to take that on. We don't have to like allow that to seep into our pores. We can just kind of like, you know, observe it from a distance and kind of keep going. It's reminding me of, and air, of course, is the element that rules over the swords. And they're showing me like a bird flying through the sky. And that's what I think, you know, that's why air was given that element, is because there's something very kind of above it all about air. Like they're not down in the muck with the rest of us, you know, they're kind of seeing things from that bird's eye perspective that can seem unemotional or like, oh, so you don't care? And it's like, yeah, maybe they don't care. And maybe they shouldn't care. Maybe that's the smart perspective. Just like when you're up in a plane, you know, you might drive past like, or fly over, you know, a school getting out for the day, and you can see the students streaming out, but you're not going to experience it in the same way that you would if you were down there and you could hear all the kids screaming, and maybe one of the kids trips and skins his knee and he starts crying and you're going to be upset and rushing over to him. When you're up in the air and you're seeing things from that perspective, like a bird or like someone in a plane, you're going to kind of be like, oh, looks like that kid tripped and fell. Oh, well, I hope he's okay. And you're not going to take it on as much. And if we can like have that attitude about different things in life, then we won't be as upset like, okay, and if I do fail, even that same vibe we were getting earlier, or if someone's mean to me, or if I mess something up, okay, so what, yeah, I feel like so what can be your mantra. Pile number one. So we got Ace of Swords, more sword energy, more air energy, and then the Eight of Pentacles. Spirit also wants to commend you, pile one, because some of you guys have been working really hard. Some of you guys have been really doing the inner work, the shadow work. You've really been leveling up, and I feel like your guides, angels, ancestors, they're so proud of you for that. They are really happy to see how far you've come, everything you've done. And I feel like you've really made incredible strides. And also with the Ace of Swords, again, I feel like Spirit has put visions or dreams in your head of even other things that you could accomplish. And I just saw that my little microphone wire is in the shot. So sorry guys if that was distracting. I'll try to move that away. But as I was saying, I do feel like for you guys, maybe there's some idea that Spirit has put in your mind that you're supposed to pursue, and that Spirit really wants you to give your all to. And Spirit really wants you to lean into it. I feel like you have been hit by a lot of creative visions lately, a lot of really powerful, like, mindset shifts and downloads. Maybe as if you're watching this when this was released, it's going to be the end of 2023. Of course, you could watch it whenever. It's a timeless reading. But for some of you guys, you may have been getting downloads with this kind of crazy astrological weather we've been having lately. You may have been getting downloads from Spirit really intensely. And I do feel like those are powerful things for you to pursue or follow. And also that if you're fearful about them, or if you're like, yeah, what if I don't do a good job? I feel like you're better at it than you realize. And you have more potential in this idea than you realize. So you might as well give it your full shot, try for it, work on it, because honestly, I think you do have a lot of gifts and talents. Pile number one. But you're gonna have to be the one to work on it. You're gonna be have to be the one to go for it full effort. And I also am getting the vibe that for some of you guys, if you feel like you have been getting more pushback, there are people around you who are jealous of you, or who are seeing all the things you've done, all the changes you've made, and how much you're growing. And they can't stand it because they feel more comfortable with you kind of keeping yourself small and not as much of a factor or a threat for them. So that's another thing coming through for you, is just this kind of like people are sensing your power grow. People are sensing that you're on a new level than you were before. You seem more confident, you seem more powerful, and energetically people are picking up on it. So don't be surprised if you have even random strangers acting like crazy to you. I feel like you are really turning into like this powerhouse and getting more and more powerful. You're stepping into the best version of yourself, and people can sense this energetic shift in you so strongly. Even if they haven't seen you, they can just sense it. Let me get some of these cards. What is happening for pile one? Come together, field of dreams. I also feel like some of you guys may have been feeling called to be more around others, or to make deeper connections. And if you have been called to do that, I think that's something you absolutely should do. Because again, I think that you really benefit from being around others. And if there's been like a hermit mode vibe around you, where you have been in hermit mode for a while, or you have been feeling like, let me keep myself at bay from all of this, I feel like you're really being called to allow those relationships to happen. I honestly think a lot of the discourse online that I see around relationships just seem to be so fear-based. Like it's always, how do you know your girl is cheating on you? Or how do you know this guy isn't into you? How do you know that like the relationship is going to crash and burn? You know what I mean? Like and if you really think about it, it's all very fear-based. And I think sometimes, of course, you do want to mitigate risks. You don't want to like get in a relationship with a narcissist or someone who's really evil. But at the same time, I think we have to just accept that like part of relationships involves putting your heart on the line and taking a risk. And it's not going to be 100% safe all the time. And there's going to be a sense of, nervousness or fear of rejection that's going to come up in all of us. But at the end of the day, I think there's nothing more attractive than someone who's really bold and goes after what they want and just goes for it, and I think honestly, you see this in a lot of sex symbol placements where there's a lot of Venus and Scorpio sex symbols, as well as Venus and Aries. And those are both Mars ruled Venus signs, which is why they're both in detriments. But they actually have a lot of sex symbols with those placements. And I think the reason why is because we actually really love to be on the receiving end of that passionate, aggressive energy of Mars. Even when it's technically in a Venus energy, we love it when someone approaches love with us and they're like gung ho and they're all the way in and they know what they want and they go for it the way like a Mars in Scorpio would, or a Mars in, or a Venus, sorry, Venus in Aries, Venus in Scorpio. Although Mars in the Mars sign, so Mars in Scorpio and Mars in Aries can also definitely be sex symbol placements, for sure. But I think that at the end of the day, like all of us want to feel like someone really, really likes us. We want to feel like someone is going for it, like they're confident, like they're passionate. And it's so funny because sometimes people are trying to mitigate risk by like thinking about, well, I'm going to play it cool, or I'm just going to not text that person, or I'm going to watch all these videos about how to know he's not into you, and then I'm not going to text him. And it's like, is that helping? I don't know. I'm not saying people should be aggressive and pursue whatever, but I just think in general in life, if there's something you want, if there's something, whatever it is, whether it is romantic, whether it is a career goal, whether it is a life for yourself, an apartment, literally anything, you should go for it. You should attack it full force with like the full strength of your will. You know what I mean? You should go after it 100%. And you should pursue the things that truly feel good to you in your spirit. So the things that make you feel excited, the things that make you feel awakened and happy and alive, that is such a powerful signal that it is for you. And I'm not saying pursue someone who's not into you and giving you those signs, because in my mind, you would still be able to feel if someone was not into you. Hopefully you would be able to feel it, and intuitively it would feel off, or it would feel discouraging, or when you would talk to them, you'd feel kind of like rejected or drained and not great. So I'm not saying you should listen or pursue someone like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But again, I feel like if your intuition is firing on all cylinders and telling you that it's a green light, go ahead, then why would you kind of second guess that? Why would you talk yourself out of a gift from spirit? That's what the Ace of Swords and all the aces really represent, is that divine motivation from spirit that just is like, I have to do this. I got to go for it. And this isn't even just romantically. This is about, I have an idea for a story, a book I want to write, a movie I want to write, a song. This is I have an idea for a cooking YouTube channel, or a dreamscape YouTube channel, or a band I want to put together with my friends. Literally whatever. If you have that full force in you that's telling you yes and telling you to go for it, that's a gift from spirit. Literally, the aces in tarot are connected to Kether, the highest element in Kabbalah, which is literally God force. A lot of those divine feelings of inspiration that I need to go after this come from God. Okay, they are like divine moments that you can't manufacture, and they're special and they're rare and they don't come around that often. So if you're feeling the need, or if you're feeling a strong conviction to go after something, then go for it. And don't let anything talk you out of it. Don't let anything hold you back. Life is short. And I think this is your message that you really need to understand, is like, life is short. A lot of you guys need to take that to heart and to really think about the fact that we don't have an unlimited time, and life is fleeting, and you can wake up one morning and you're like 70 years old and you remember being 13, but now you're 70. And that's the thing, is like time flies. So you need to use it to your absolute best use. And your best use is not sitting on the sidelines, watching it go by, trying to mitigate risk, thinking about all the things that could go wrong, worrying about getting rejected, worrying about what if I fail. Your best risk is going into it full force with all your energy, attacking it with that kind of Mars vitality and going for it, going for the things you want. So I feel like for you guys, your message is like, you have all the power to get whatever this is that you want done. You have the power to make it happen. And so why are you holding back? Let's get some astrology dice to end this reading. What are the energies at play for pile one, Spirit? We got the fourth house, Cancer, Uranus, aka Aquarius, and Scorpio. So we spoke about both of these elements, and then we have Cancer. So there's Cancer, Aquarius, Scorpio. So we already talked about Scorpio. Again, Scorpio is Mars ruled, and that's what I love about Scorpios is like you will never, Scorpios don't play around. They're not wishy-washy. They come into things full force. They know what they want and they really go after it. Both of the Mars signs have that in common, Aries and Scorpio, but they manifest it in very different ways. But I do feel like for you guys, this is like your message of like, and that's the thing about Scorpio is like they never feel lukewarm about it. Like most Scorpios, you'll never be like, so what did you think? And they're like, well, it was okay. I mean, I thought it was nice, but you know, it wasn't my favorite. They're probably going to be like it was horrible or it was amazing, you know? And I love that Scorpio is so in touch with their inner compass. They never second guess themselves. They don't go into like some little thought hole about like maybe I should. I feel like Scorpios tend to really trust their intuition, and they know in the way that all Mars ruled placements know. They know when it's for them because they feel that internal compass turn on with that Mars energy. That's why Mars symbol is literally like an arrow pointing out of the top of it that just goes for things. So listen to that. If you're feeling strongly about something, if you're inspired or excited, you can't stop thinking about something, you have a feeling that I gotta do it, go for it and stop holding yourself back and keeping yourself safe. We have Uranus and we spoke about Aquarius and how Aquarius also keeps itself at an emotional distance in order to allow itself to innovate and be the innovative energy that Aquarius and Uranus is. So for you guys, if you have to like even cut off some of your emotions in order to make yourself go for it, again, I think being a little bit emotionally removed, having that like, okay, and so what? So what's going to happen? So, you know, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, well. And so something didn't work out. Oh, well. Aquarius tends to be also, it's interesting because Aquarius tend to be very popular and very well liked by people, but they're also very emotionally removed. Like Oprah's a really good example of an Aquarius, in my opinion. You know, she's very popular, people like her, but she kind of does her own thing and like stays alone in her mansion and doesn't really interact a whole lot. You know what I mean? And that's kind of an Aquarius energy. Is like, they get popularity, but they're not even seeking it out. They're kind of a lot of times like, okay, I don't know why people like me, but whatever. And so I think there's something really to be said for keeping yourself at an emotional distance, because I think because Aquarius rules the 11th house of crowds, they understand the behavior of crowds really well. That one moment a crowd is going to love you and the next minute a crowd is going to hate you. And there's just this kind of undulating pendulum that swings back and forth when it comes to the behavior of a crowd. So don't take it personally if they love you, and don't take it personally if they hate you. A lot of it has nothing to do with you and is just kind of the cycle of life and how people are. And so in that sense, you won't take it to heart as much if someone doesn't like you, if someone rejects you romantically, if your work project doesn't do well, you know, if you get rejected because you sent out a manuscript and no publishing place wants to publish it. Oh well, that's just part of the game, you know? I know J.K. Rowling sent hers out like to like 25 people before she got accepted. So it happens all the time. And finally, fourth house, Cancer. For me, I'm getting with that intuition. I feel like a lot of you guys need to really rely on your intuition. You need to go full force into whatever this is. You need to trust that inner vibe, that inner compass that will never steer you wrong. And also fourth house does rule the house and the home. So again, for some of you guys who have been fully leaning into like 100% homebody energy, there's nothing wrong with being a homebody. I'm a Cancer moon, so of course I can be totally a homebody. I love being at home. But I do feel like sometimes you got to have a balance. You got to get yourself out in the world. You got to allow yourself to experience life. And if you're doing too much of the home stuff and you're not feeling fulfilled, you're not feeling excited. I mean, some people are at home all the time because they're very fulfilled by that. They're writing a novel, or they, you know what I mean? They need to be at home for some reason. They're taking care of their kids. They're at home all the time with that. But if you're like at home and you're bored and you know, you wish you had friends, you wish whatever else was different, then that's something you need to like really take steps to address, and really take steps to put yourself out there in the world and not be so afraid of things. So that's what I have for you, pile one. I really hope it resonates. If it does, let me know down in the comments. I love hearing from you guys, and make sure to give this reading a like, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe. And if you want to see more of my readings, head on over to my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about what did I post a reading? You know what? There's over 75 readings over on Patreon, and there's so many to choose from. So I literally cannot remember the last reading I posted, although I posted two just recently. So you'll have to go over there and see. The link is underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description. And like I said, you get access to 75 exclusive readings for Patreon, and you also will get new or early access to all my YouTube videos. They get posted over there first. I know I posted what God wants you to focus on recently, and then before that I posted an 18 plus reading about their late night thoughts about you, but honestly I can't remember the last two and I just posted them. So you'll have to go over there and check, but new ones go up all the time. If all that sounds good to you, like I said, go to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description for my Patreon. And if you want to get a private one-on-one reading with me, you can get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. And yeah, you can get a tarot reading, channeling, or a astrology reading. So I hope to see you there. Like I said, briarrosetarot.com. Link is in my description for that. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will see you again very soon in another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, Pile 2, welcome to your reading. So you guys got Dust Devil, moving out of stagnation, Covenant, sacred contract, deep diver, diving into a task, and beloved, radical acceptance. So I feel like there's something that Spirit is really calling on you to embrace and to really dive into and be willing to fully experience. This could be a relationship that wants to come in. This could be any kind of major life change, any kind of event. I feel like there's like a trepidation in your energy field, like this fear or this kind of like trying to keep yourself safe. So keeping yourself at a distance from it, not fully allowing it to come into your life. Like it could be that you really like someone, you keep thinking of them, but then you think, well, they haven't texted me, so I'm not going to text them. Or you know what, they're probably a player. I'm not gonna respond when they do text me. I'm just gonna keep myself away from them. But you keep going back to them. You keep thinking of them mentally. Or it could be a thing where you're like, I really keep getting an intuitive sign that I need to move to Iowa. I keep thinking of Iowa for some reason. I keep channeling this connection to Iowa, but no, why would I move to Iowa? And what if I have a horrible time? I've never lived out in a rural area. Why would I move there? And I feel like you are being called, whatever this is, to like, let it change you. Let the experience happen. Let the experience be what it's meant to be. You know, we come to this earth to experience certain things. It's like a school. We come to learn certain things, experience things as humans. That's why we're given 5 senses. We're supposed to live life as humans. So I think sometimes, you know, people can be so afraid and trying to think over all the different factors, trying to mitigate all the risk, trying to figure out like, well, how do they think about me before I ask them out on a date? Let me make sure they like me. Or before I accept this job opportunity, let me do so much research into this area, whatever. Or before I actually try to make it as a singer, let me go over all the statistics in my mind of the music industry and what my likelihood is to make it. Sometimes you're being called to an experience just to experience it, to learn something. Maybe it's not even supposed to be a full 100% success. Maybe you're supposed to be called to be a singer, not because you're actually supposed to be like the next Whitney Houston, but maybe you're gonna have some amazing experience through that, meet some friends when you move to like West Hollywood, and then meet your husband that way. And you're supposed to have this immersive experience that transforms your life and aligns you in a certain direction. You know, or maybe you are supposed to pursue that relationship because it teaches you how to love and it brings your spark back, and you haven't felt anything and you feel this soul connection, and you're not actually supposed to end up with the person, but it's a connection you'll always remember that brings you so much love and joy, and it is a beautiful, happy memory for you. You know what I mean? Like things don't have to always work out exactly perfect for them to be amazing and special and perfect in their own way. So I feel like for you, it's almost like, what are you kind of keeping yourself at a distance from? What are you being tentative and kind of scared about? Where I feel like Spirit is calling on you to just dive in, just go for it, just make it happen. Just give it your all and run into it full force. Because I do feel like for a lot of you guys, there's something really powerful here that you're supposed to try, that you're supposed to give a shot to. And I feel like Spirit is really asking you, where can you be more brave? Where can you be more honest and truthful about yourself, about your feelings, about your desires? I love this beloved radical acceptance. So sometimes it's even just about accepting ourselves, accepting our own desires, accepting that, like, yeah, I want this. Sometimes we run away from our own thoughts, feelings, desires. We tell ourselves, oh, I don't really care either way. I don't care if I get that job opportunity, or I don't care if I get into that college, or I don't care if he texts me back. I don't care if he likes me or not, whatever. When the reality is we do care. And sometimes it's just about admitting to ourselves, like, I really want that. Because it's honestly relatively rare, in my opinion, that we want something that much, like when Spirit has really put something in your heart. A lot of times through life, I feel like, at least in my experience, I can be kind of blasé about a lot. Like, I'll be like, oh, if that happens, okay, that'd be great. If not, whatever. It's fine either way, how it happens, like, I'm good. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's probably most of us going through our day. We don't necessarily feel super strongly in one direction or another. So if there's something that has come into your life that makes you feel so strongly and want something so bad, and you're like, oh, I just feel so drawn to this, whatever it is. If it's moving to California and living in a coastal town, and you're obsessed with that idea because Spirit has put it in your heart. And this is the one thing that I think requires some, I guess, clarification. Is the only thing I do think is that it's important to differentiate the desires Spirit has put in our heart versus the desires that, like, society has put in our heart. And this is why I often think it's like the best thing when someone tells me, I know, like in a private reading, I know this is so weird, but I really feel the desire to move to Kentucky. Then I'm like, okay, perfect, because there's not as much societal pressure to move to a place like Kentucky as there is to move to a place like New York, LA, Paris, all the glamorous places. So if you're feeling called to move to a place that's like completely off the map, most people aren't thinking about it, then boom, that is such a sign from Spirit. So the one thing is, if you're getting like, if you want to like kind of interrogate yourself, is this coming from me? Is this coming from a genuine place inside me? Or is it coming from like, I really want to impress all the people from my high school by flexing that I bought this like Louis Vuitton bag? If that's the case, that might not be a genuine desire from Spirit. Nothing wrong with having other desires, but it's not necessarily something you should like lean into full force and, okay, that's your message from God. That's probably not coming from God. It's maybe coming from an insecurity inside of like, I want to prove to everyone. And what I'm talking about is those desires that really genuinely seem to come from somewhere inside of us. We feel so drawn. We don't really care if anyone knows about it. We don't really care what anyone thinks about it. We don't care about their opinions. It's a genuine, authentic desire that comes from inside and is from God. That's like an Ace of Wands moment. And it really is something super spiritual. And I do feel like for some of you guys, you're feeling called for something. You feel a desire towards something so strong, but for some reason you're resisting it. And I feel like you need to fully embrace whatever this is. Go for it. Don't even worry about what others are going to think, what others are going to say, but lean into that, because again, it's very rare. Let's get into some tarot for pile number 2. What kind of tarot are we going to get? The Page of Swords, okay. 8 of Wands, wow. 9 of Wands. So the time for you to act may be now. This could be a message from Spirit of like, what are you waiting for? Because the 8 of Wands is very fast acting. 2 of Wands as well. 2 of Wands is a planner. So you may have some time to plan this out, whatever it is. You don't have to act right now. But I feel like with the 6 of Swords, the 8 of Wands, the 2 of Wands, it's like you're kind of ready, Like I feel like there's a part of you that's like nervous about the timing or questioning yourself, like, am I ready for this? Maybe I need more time. I don't want to act yet. And I do feel like it's like you are ready for whatever this is. And of course, use your intuition. This is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest. But if there's something that you really want and you've been trying to kind of hold yourself back from it, hoping that, let me play this cool for a while, let me wait it out. It's not to say you have to act right now, but I do feel like it's almost like, why waste time? If you know what you want, you know what you want. why not go for it? You know, why not fully lean into it and embrace it? For some of you guys with the Six of Swords, this may be about in the other direction, feeling like you're ready to leave something behind, feeling like I don't need to keep on holding on to this. It's ready to go. It's ready to be left in the past. Whether you're stepping towards something or away from something, I feel like there's an energy here that is ready for some kind of a new cycle, ready for a new opportunity, and ready to fully pursue this. And again, I think when those experiences come around, they are not something we get all the time. You know, people can go on hundreds of dates and never really fully feel a spark for any of them. So when you feel that spark, that's something to pay attention to. When you get so excited about a job opportunity or an invention idea or a idea for a book, that's something to pay attention to. When you can't get it out of your head, I've heard so many people who like invent something or write best-selling books or do something like that, and they'll say, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't get it off my mind. It was like I was obsessed. I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was losing my mind because I kept thinking about it. Again, that's like Ace of Swords to me. And I mentioned this in pile one too, but I just think it's worth it. There's a lot of wisdom to be found in this fact that in tarot, the aces correspond to Kether, the Kether element in Kabbalah, which is like the highest element of God. And that is the God element. So the aces are kind of like ideas, random instincts or desires that pop into our mind. It's like a new, like, oh my God, I should do this kind of a feeling, whether it's in the swords, the cups, wands, earth. It's going to obviously manifest differently, but it's kind of like that fresh idea, that instinct that like, I got to go for this. I got to try for this. And so again, that is a connection from God. It's literally so sacred. They could have assigned Kether element to so many other cards. And I think it's so telling that the most holy of elements is assigned to the aces, because that's truly a connection from God. When God puts something in your heart, then that is such a powerful symbol. It also reminds me of the candles from like Botanicas that say secret desires of my heart. Only you can know what desires you have. Only you can know what you truly want, and kind of this sacred instinct that is speaking to you and is talking to you and is calling to you. And that's something that we really, really, really need to embrace and pay attention to, and not dismiss it, not brush it off or say, well, I'll feel that way later. Maybe all of us have had experiences in life where we went for something, or we wanted to go for something, we wanted to try out for it, like that kid in ninth grade who wants to audition for the school play, but then they're like, oh, everyone's going to tease me, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hang out with my jock friends instead. Or the girl that wanted to try out for being a cheerleader, but then she's like, oh, you know, I'm never going to make it, so why would I try? Or that kid who's really smart and they want to apply to Harvard, but they're like, I'm not going to get in. I don't want to be embarrassed. I'm not going to try for it. And there's nothing sadder than that kind of unrealized potential, right? There's nothing sadder than that feeling that like, looking back, maybe I could have done it. Maybe I could have made it on the cheerleading team. Maybe I could have made it on the into the play. And I bet for a lot of those people, they probably could have had a chance, even if they didn't make it as the lead role in the play the first time. They may have been like a side character and been able to work their way over to it. The point is, if there's something you want, whatever it is, it's really something you need to lean into and go for. And I feel like for you guys, you're really being called to pursue this because there's something really sacred and special in it. And there's also a message, again, to let these things change you. So what if it doesn't work out? If you're sitting there trying to mitigate risk, wondering about all the things that can go wrong, wondering about what will happen if I get rejected, or what will happen if I don't make it, or what will happen if it doesn't work out, then that's so not the energy to go about these things with. You kind of have to be bold and brave and just trust the process and understand that, yeah, life will change you. You will experience certain things and you'll probably leave as a different person than you were when you came in. But that's literally why we came to this planet, is to allow ourselves to be changed, allow ourselves to be influenced, allow ourselves to experience things, all the, amazing qualities in life, the not so great qualities, the heartbreak, the pain, the love, the elation, the euphoria, the sadness. I mean, that's what makes us human. And there's something so special and intense about that, right? Like, how many people would love to experience a love or a relationship like Romeo and Juliet, even though it didn't work out for them and technically they had a very unhappy ending, right? But still, that's how important experiencing things like that is to us as humans. That's why we come to this planet, to feel those things. So if there's like someone you're interested in, but you're kind of like not wanting to approach them and you're kind of wanting to like stay on the sidelines and keep yourself safe, this may be your message to like go for it. And again, what are you waiting for? Let it happen. Make it happen. Allow yourself to get swept away. Allow yourself to experience things, maybe even get your heart broken. That's okay. You'll be okay on the other side. But there's something maybe that is divinely orchestrated in this that you're supposed to learn from. You're supposed to get something out of it. A lot of times these sacred contract soulmate relationships, you come into each other's lives to teach yourself things, to learn certain things, to end certain patterns from old lifetimes. They're very powerful, very valuable. And whatever comes of it, trust that process, trust that it is divinely appointed to help you grow in some direction or another. Let's get into some more cards. For pile number 2, let's see what cards we're going to get. Let's see. Home, okay. So that could be about moving houses or moving locations like I was picking up on earlier. Ride the waves and dragon's lair. Okay, let's get one more. Flying, okay. So we got ride the wave, home, coming apart, dragon's lair, and flying. And I think it's really interesting that you guys have gotten so much water imagery on these cards, because the water in tarot or the water in astrology is like emotions. And I think that's something that it's so, of course, all these things are interconnected. And that's why water was picked as that element, because love, which is one of the things water represents in the tarot, really involves allowing yourself to be immersed. And sometimes people they want to fall in love, they want to experience things, they want to have a deeply spiritual experience, but they're kind of like keeping themselves on the sidelines. They're keeping themselves on the shore, kind of like keeping themselves safe in a little boat, not really wanting to even dip their toe in, not wanting to get wet. Part of the experience of love, part of the experience of life, experiencing anything spiritual involves diving down deep. And all the water signs understand that. They like the depths. And it's always funny to me, a lot of people will start going crazy during Scorpio season, Cancer season, Pisces season, for sure. All the water seasons, you will always start to see people posting being like, when is fire season? I'm so sick of this. And even now, we just had a full moon in Cancer and the tides are still acting up. There was all these crazy waves in California that sweep people away. People start going crazy literally around this time of the full moon. And this is documented by crime statistics. It's so funny how I almost feel like it's a fear of your own emotions, because I can say, as a water sign, grand water trine, most water signs I know, we have literally zero problem in Pisces season, Scorpio season, Cancer season, because we're so used to it and we've learned to embrace the water. The only time you're going to have trouble with water is if you're afraid of getting wet and you're afraid to dive in. Once you learn how to swim in it, it's actually really nice and it's really lovely. But so many people, even though they want to experience those things, they kind of are desperately afraid of I don't want to get too emotional. I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel any pain. I don't want to feel, heartbreak. But understanding and acknowledging and opening yourself to it, admitting that that's a part of it, admitting that, yeah, you might get your heart broken. Yeah, you may stay on your couch for the next 2 weeks and cry into a little pint of Ben and Jerry's. But guess what? That's life. There's a beauty in that as well. Maybe you'll write beautiful poetry out of it. Maybe you'll feel creatively inspired. Cup energy, water energy is also highly creative. We get creativity from love. How many people have written the most famous love songs are almost all heartbreak songs. So there's so much. My point is that whatever this experience is, it doesn't necessarily have to be love. But I just feel like Spirit's really calling on you, pile 2, to be brave about this, to lean in, allow it to transform you, allow it to change you, allow yourself to go on this mission and to allow whatever is going to happen to happen. Allow yourself to be different when you come back than you were when you left, and allow yourself to really immerse yourself in experiencing all the emotion, all the experiences that life has to offer. So let's get some astrology dice and see what astrological energies are at play for pile number 2. So we got the 7th house, we got Jupiter, and we got Capricorn. Okay, 7th house makes a lot of sense. That is Libra energy. So we have Libra, Capricorn, and Sagittarius represented. So 7th house Libra is the house of relationships, and it is the house of love and yeah, relationships basically. So I feel like for you guys, there is that heavy emphasis that I am getting around. Maybe this is a love relationship that maybe you've doubted it, you haven't trusted it, maybe you're feeling something, but then you kind of second guess yourself or tell yourself, oh, I'm just going to play it cool with them. You know, I don't want to get my heart broken. I'm not going to text them. And I almost feel like Spirit may be calling on you to be brave about it, to say your emotions, to say how you feel, to be transparent, not to be cagey or wishy-washy or trying to figure out like, how am I going to come across cool? How am I going to play these games and win? But just being fully authentically honest, I think is one of the most attractive things a person can do. Even if this isn't romantic though, it could just be like, you kind of want to get a job doing XYZ, but then you're like, I don't want to fully lean into that. Maybe it's embarrassing. I'm probably not going to make it. So you're kind of keeping yourself away from it. So again, I just feel like you're really being called to embrace this with enthusiasm, go for it, and trust the process. We have Jupiter. Jupiter is a benefic planet. It is a planet that confers blessings, abundance, expansion. It rules over Sagittarius, which is maybe the most, probably, definitely the most optimistic sign in the zodiac. Number 2 would probably be Pisces, which is co-ruled by Jupiter. So you know, Jupiter energy gives optimism wherever it exists in the chart. It makes people see the possibilities. It makes people see the silver lining. And in a funny way, I think that that correlates to actual luck, because Sagittarius is the most lucky sign in the zodiac. And so there's something to be said that the more we expect the best, the more we prevent ourselves from going to like a worst case scenario in our mind and thinking about all the ways it can't work and thinking of all the negative things and all the things that could go wrong. When we prevent our mind from going to those places and we force ourselves to stay in a really positive mindset and expect the best, expect that things are going to go well, that's when those blessings will happen. There was a study done, I think in the 90s, where I think it was by a Japanese scientist, and he wrote words on glasses of water. And so it's a very famous study, but he wrote like, I want to kill you, or hate, or bad, and all these negative words on glasses of water. And then he wrote the opposite words like good, I love you, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're special on glasses of water. And then he put all the ions or whatever, the cells, under a microscope. And of course, it was amazing to see that the water cells of the negative words were so dark and dusty and distorted and just became kind of weird looking and like sad looking and kind of evil looking. And the words of the positive words that said like, you're beautiful, you're amazing, you're special, those became so beautiful. There's truly, you can look this up. If you don't believe me, you can see the water molecules for yourself. There's something so powerful about the attitude we have, the optimism we give something, the way we expect it to work out, the way we know things are working out for our favor, the way we trust that process, the way we have optimism in our life. So if we're going into a love relationship, the way we expect it to work out for us, the way we give that optimism to our partner, we trust in them, we trust that process, we kind of have that expectance of goodness from them, that is going to powerfully possibly change the outcome of the whole relationship, versus being someone who's like untrusting, scared, keeping their emotions to themselves, expecting the worst. You know, that is like a very negative mindset to have about anything, about any kind of creative project, about our relationships, about ourselves, whatever. So whatever this is, I feel like you're really being called to go into it full force, positively, expecting goodness, expecting it to work out, and not allowing your doubts to run away with you and get the worst of you. Then we also have Capricorn energy. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the planet of hardships, so kind of the opposite of Jupiter. Saturn restricts whatever it comes into contact with, whereas Jupiter expands. But with Saturn, I also feel like, again, there's that message of like, so what? And so what if it doesn't work out, you know? And so what if things don't happen right? The thing about Saturn is Saturn, which so many people are terrified of Saturn. I happen to love Saturn transits, maybe because I'm very Saturnian, but my favorite transit ever in my life was a Saturn transit. And I honestly think they are so underrated. People are so terrified of Saturn transits. And even to the point where like Saturn is the original kind of, if the etymology, I guess, of the word Satan comes from Saturn. So that's how terrified we are of Saturn. We also gave Saturday after Saturn, and Saturday is supposed to be a dark day. If you were born on a Saturday, you're supposedly full of sorrow. So we are so terrified of Saturn, but the reality is Saturn gives some of the biggest blessings. Once you go through a Saturn transit, you always get rewarded. So my point in that is even the seemingly worst event that we can think of, the event that terrifies us, the worst case scenario in our mind, what if that really doesn't work out? What if he's playing me? What if he's faking his emotions? What if he doesn't actually like me? What if he rejects me? What if this creative project doesn't work out? What if I get humiliated? What if everyone sees me fail? What if I get rejected from the job opportunity that I applied for? What if, you know, everything goes off the rails and is awful? You're still probably going to be fine. And if anything, you're going to grow from that experience and you're going to be blessed from it. So if anything, you should welcome in those opportunities. You should welcome in whatever opportunity, the opportunity to do well, the opportunity to fail. You should welcome in even the thing that you're like, yeah, I bet that's not going to work out. There's probably very little chance of that happening. Still allow it to happen. Allow yourself to trust. Allow yourself to flow with it. Allow yourself to dive in and be transformed by whatever that is. Because the worst thing you can do is stay on the sidelines. Again, be afraid of the water. Don't dive in, whereas everyone else is swimming in the water and experiencing life and diving in and feeling all the things, and you're kind of stuck on the sidelines watching everyone else. That's the worst possible thing. So just like I feel a lot of Capricorns, they kind of get this accumulated bravery from having their behinds kicked by Saturn so many times, they end up turning into very brave souls. I think you need some of that stoicism and kind of some of that like, okay, so what? I'm going to go for it anyway. So that's what I have for you, Pile 2. I really hope it resonates. If it does, let me know down in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys, hearing your thoughts and stories. So let me know what you think. And if you want to see more of my content, you can go to my Patreon. I just posted 2 more readings and I am completely blanking on the subject, even though I just posted them. One of them is all about your innate gifts and talents that you were born with. And then before that, I had posted one all about what God wants you to focus on, and an 18 plus, what their late night thoughts are of you. And then before that, there's also another one in between, and I'm completely blanking on that. So anyway, if you're curious about that title, you'll have to go over to Patreon. But there's so much content over there, and new ones go up all the time. You'll get access to over 75 exclusive readings as soon as you sign up that you'll only find on Patreon. You also get early and ad-free access to YouTube videos. So that's why I can't even remember at this point. Like, there's so many different topics to choose from, and we try to also vote, and you guys suggest readings. So it's very interactive. If all of that sounds good to you and you want to join me on Patreon, go to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments and the description, and I would love to see you there. Also, if you would like to get a private session with me, you can get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com, and you can sign up for a tarot reading, astrology reading, channeling session. You get to decide. So if that sounds good to you, go to my website, briarrosetarot.com. A link is in my description for that. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm sending you so much love and light, and I'll be back again very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye. Hey, Pile 3, welcome to your reading. So you guys got Straddling Worlds, Wandering Between Realms, Garden of Venus, Rest and Renewal, hollow bone, teachability, neck caster, preparations come to fruition, and eye of the needle, intentionality. So I am feeling a strong vibe for you guys of maybe you needing to get a little extra sleep, maybe needing to rest, maybe take it easy on yourself. I feel like you need to know a message about you being on a certain timeline, and it's almost like there's only so much that can be done about this timeline. So if you're thinking that you're gonna work yourself to death and like increase this timeline or speed up this timeline or change this timeline somehow, maybe it's even with a romantic relationship or literally anything you're wanting in life, just know that some of these things are divine timing. And so there's not as much that your actions can do to change that. Like, I'm not saying to be completely complacent in life, but sometimes certain things are timed that way for a reason. And I kind of feel like you are being called right now to really enjoy the place you're at right now instead of thinking towards the future or wondering when certain things are going to happen. How can you really enjoy the present moment? And literally, how can you give your physical body a rest? Because for some of you guys, your literal physical form is depleted. You are not having as much energy. If you haven't been sleeping, if you haven't been resting, if you have been not looking after yourself, not taking breaks, I feel like this is definitely your call to make sure that you're doing that and make sure that you're looking out for yourself. I feel like some of you guys, there's something you want so bad, and it's almost like you've been working towards it and you're wondering, like, when is it going to happen, or when is this going to take place? And you're trying to do as much as you can to make it happen. And I kind of feel like it's the vibe of needing to calm down a little bit. It's Spirit just put in my mind, I read Demi Moore's autobiography a few years ago, and it's a really interesting read. Actually, I was surprised by how much like insight I got from that book and how many like random downloads I felt like I got from that book. But one of the things she said was there was a time in the 90s when she was obsessed with working out. She didn't really like how her body looked, and she was always wanting to get thinner, skinnier, but it was like no matter what she did, she felt like she just couldn't budge the couple extra inches or extra pounds, whatever, on her body. And she would stress out so much. She was like working out 24/7, eating very little, trying to get these extra pounds off or whatever. And she said that the funny thing is she started thinking about needing to relax. I don't know if she saw a holistic person who told her this. I can't remember exactly, but she suddenly just felt like, you know what? I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm too tired. I'm too burnt out, and I'm just going to kind of like chill. And anyway, she said that decision has changed her body so much. And now it's like effortless for her to eat whatever she wants basically and keep her weight low. And she was so stressed out all the time when she was younger, trying to get skinnier, trying to have less weight on her or get the kind of body she wanted. And as soon as she stopped fighting her body, that's when she got the body she wanted. And isn't that how life works out in general for all of us? It's so funny how the more energy we put into something, the more we're rushing about it, the more we are fixated on a certain outcome, or when is it going to happen, or it needs to look exactly like this, when is it going to take place, the more we're pushing that energy away from us. And the more we can relax and enjoy where we're at, the more that energy is going to be magnetized towards us. So it's kind of, I know it's sometimes difficult, sometimes letting go and releasing actually will bring us that thing faster. And the more tightly we try to cling to it, the more it will escape from us. So for you guys, I feel like this is your call for just giving yourself a little bit of a break, calming down, relaxing, enjoying your life a little bit more, and kind of allowing yourself a little bit of a pause, not feeling like you have to go a million miles an hour, not feeling like you have to do everything right now, but kind of like, how can you allow this process to unfold? How can you allow things to happen on their own timeline? How can you be peaceful and pause and relax into it instead of having this resistance? And for some of you guys, you have been working really hard, and whatever this is, it's going to happen. You're going to get it. It could even be that person that they're in the gym every day, and because they're in the gym every day, their own image of their body has become distorted and they're not even perceiving it accurately. Some of you guys may be so close to your goal, or even if you really take a step back, maybe you've already achieved your goal. You're already there and you just kind of blew past it and didn't even realize. you know? And so it's almost like being intentional with our energy, making sure that we are tracking our energy and we are keeping track of what we're thinking about, whether we are putting our energy into an unhealthy vibe of like self-criticism or being overly perfectionist, and how can we kind of relax, go with the flow, enjoy the place where we're at, and stop freaking out over the small stuff. Because I actually feel like for a lot of you guys, whatever this is that you're trying to achieve, whatever this goal you have in mind, it's almost like you're definitely going to achieve it, or you're already there, you already have achieved it. So how can you be more relaxed and enjoy the process? Let's get into some more cards. Okay, let's get some tarot for pile number 3. What tarot do we have for pile 3, Spirit? What is this? 8 of Cups, okay. Page of Wands. This one is the Justice card. This could also be about karma. If you're stressing about certain karmic events or like wanting to see certain justice things happen, it could be that it's out of your hands now and not to worry too much about it. I feel like there's an element here of something being out of your hands, almost like there's only so much you can do with this. Like it's already in action. You know, the wheel is already turning. You know, it's kind of like how maybe if there's like major machinery, like in a factory or something, most of the time it may take a while to get it to slow down. Like you can't just shut it down on a dime. I know there's sometimes an emergency shut off, but if you think of something like a dam, that takes a lot of time for like the gates to open and the gates to close back up again because of the flow of water. Like if you think of something like the Hoover Dam, there's so much water going through that if you were to open the gates of that dam and then try to close it back up, it's going to take a while for that machinery to actually pull it back into place. And I feel like for you guys, there is a message that you are needing to really be careful about not like stressing out so much over the energy, because some of this stuff is already in place. It's already happening. The ball is already rolling down the hill. You know what I mean? And there's not so much you can do to even stop it. So good or bad, if you can come from a place of relaxation and you can enjoy it, then you're not going to be standing in the middle of that dam trying to stem the flow of the water and getting swept away into the currents. I feel like for a lot of you guys, you know, Abraham Hicks gives this metaphor for energy, and I think it's such a great one, where a lot of times her metaphor for energy is, it's kind of like if there's a car going down the hill. Maybe you parked the car and you get out of the car and you see it start slowly rolling down the hill and you realize, oh my God, I didn't put on the emergency brake or something like that. If you get in front of that car in like, 10 seconds, you can easily stop it. You can probably lean against the bumper and that car will kind of bump into your knees, but it's going to stop and you can, you'll have time to get back in and put the emergency brake on, whatever. If you see that car rolling down the hill and you kind of think, oh, I don't know what to do, and you let it start rolling, and then it's been rolling for like 30 seconds, that car is going to pick up speed. And if you try to hop in front of it, you're going to get run over. So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, energy has its own kind of speed that it picks up. It's got its own path that it's on. And so there's only so much we can do. And this is a good thing and a bad thing to stop it. So like if you have already manifested something really good, like you've already manifested money or career success or an amazing relationship, you don't have to keep doing that. You don't have to keep getting behind the car and shoving it down the road, because it's already got its own speed picked up. It's already on its own volition, And so it's really pointless for us to continuously stress about, like, I hope it's gonna pick up enough speed. It already has, so stop worrying about it. And by the same token, if there's a negative situation in our life that has spiraled out of control and we're flipping out about it and we're nervous about it, we already let that energy happen and it already is kind of run off the rails. We don't really have time to address it anymore. So by the same token, we may as well just accept that that's happening, not try to get in the way of it anymore, but just be like, okay, I'm not going to let that happen again. So whether you are manifesting something amazing, or maybe you made a mistake in the past with this Justice card, I could see that being something for some of you guys. There's no good that is going to come out of you getting in your head about it, stressing out about it, getting nervous about it. you may as well just allow the energy to flow, allow it to be what it is, and not, waste your energy by freaking out, stressing out, worrying, and getting in your head. I feel like for a lot of you guys, this may be a positive message. You're already on track to achieve something. You're already on track to achieve a certain goal or a dream. But if it is negative, if there's a situation in your life that already seems like it's just really awful and there's nothing you can do about it, by the same token, stop stressing. Either way, I feel like you guys are being called to really relax, really enjoy, calm down. You may even be being called to like literally have a weekend off, veg, sit on the couch, relax, or go for a walk, go work out, hang out with friends, go get a margarita, whatever the case may be. I really feel like you guys need to kind of pause, take a step back, chill out. Some of you guys have other hobbies or interests that you've been neglecting. Maybe you have been feeling called to do some kind of creative work or garden or cook or do something that's fun for you. But then there's a part of you that's like, oh, I don't have time. I have to give this all my work. I have to give this all my energy. And I really feel like this is your question to kind of like pull that energy back into yourself. Sometimes the less you work, the better it turns out. Like, I'm not a baker, so I can't think of the exact breads that do this, but Spirit is showing me, and I know this is the case, actually when I cooked muffins. You're not supposed to overstir muffins. I remember that. And there's certain other breads like this where you can't knead them too much. You can't put too much work into them. Otherwise, the bread will not bake up correctly. Now, most breads, you can knead the heck out of it. And the more you knead, the better it'll be, especially if you want like a puff pastry or a really light pastry. I think the more you like fold it over and create layers, the better it's going to be. But if you're trying to bake something like a muffin, you cannot stir it too much because it disrupts the dough. And I think pancakes are the same. So the thing is, you kind of have to leave some of those lumps and bumps in for it to turn out correct. So if you have lumpy pancake batter, for example, and you want to make American style pancakes, that's a good sign that those pancakes are going to puff up perfectly. And I think sometimes when we have a goal in mind, when we have something we're trying to achieve, we associate it only with one form of hard work. We associate it with like breaking our back, working really hard, burning ourselves out, giving it our all, when actually sometimes the best way to succeed is to kind of pause, allow the energy to be what it is, put less work in, allow it to chill, allow it to be how it's going to be. And that sometimes can even give us more energy to create, to be inspired. Sometimes it's like if you're a writer and you're writing every single day, I've heard writers say that they had a really hard time during the pandemic because they'd be holed up at home every day, which you would think, oh, great, well, you're a writer, that's perfect, you can write all day. But a lot of them said, well, I'm not able to go out to a restaurant and get inspired by some random person eating dinner nearby, or just get a lunch and take a break. So, a lot of times those things that they may not seem productive on surface level, you may be looking at someone who's like chilling out all weekend, relaxing on the couch, and be like, oh my God, so you're being really lazy, you're not doing anything. But actually that may be how this person gets inspired and how they find their inspiration and their purpose and everything they need to accomplish whatever task that is. So make sure you are taking some time for yourself, pile number 3. With the 8 of Cups as well, don't be afraid to leave behind situations that feel draining to you or may just not be what you want. It doesn't even have to be horrible. It doesn't have to be the worst situation in the world. If there's situations where you don't feel emotionally fulfilled, where you feel drained, where you feel like you're not getting anything back out of that, it's okay to take a step back. It's okay to pause, to reinvent yourself, to pivot, to do things a little bit differently. So listen to your own intuition. This could be about taking a step back from pushing so hard on a certain goal because maybe that goal is not meant for you. Maybe you've been trying to make something happen for a really, really long time and it just feels like it's not working out. It's okay to sometimes admit like, yeah, I messed that up. Yeah, that wasn't for me, or I did a really bad job, or it didn't happen the way I thought, or it didn't happen the way I hoped. It's okay to pivot. It's okay to admit you did wrong, So I feel like for you guys, whatever this is, your energy is just being called to really pause and not feel like you have to kind of white knuckle everything in your life. So let's get some of these cards for pile number 3. We want to know what pile 3 needs to know. So we got making a choice, come together. Okay. Sad embrace, education, commitments, and cleaning house. So yeah, for some of you guys, this could be about getting rid of the old, or even admitting that something hasn't worked out for you, admitting that a certain situation isn't exactly what you thought it was going to be. And that doesn't mean it's a loss. There's a lot of educational cards you guys have gotten, a lot of cards about learning. So maybe this could have been a learning experience. Even if it's not exactly perfect, there are, I think, sometimes things that happen in our lives that come to teach us a certain lesson that we'll use in something completely different. I can speak, me personally, having worked for a family law firm. I feel like I learned so much from working in law, even though I don't do law now. I loved my time in law, and it really changes how you think about things, how you approach things. So even if it's not you directly becoming a lawyer, you end up taking so much away from those experiences. And I bet all of us have stories like that. All of us have worked for a company or in an industry that maybe we don't do that kind of work anymore, but we can tell you all about what it's like to work at Taco Bell, and we know all the little secrets, and we know how to get like a free extra Coke added on, and we know the ins and outs. Even if you're not working at Taco Bell for the rest of your life, you still have that cool experience that maybe taught you valuable things too, not just specifically about Taco Bell, but about how to deal with people, how to cook, etc., hard work. So sometimes we feel so depressed about like leaving a situation behind, or even stepping towards a new situation, because we're afraid of like having to learn stuff. But actually there's so much that we can take away, and we can become better and stronger. So sometimes when we're feeling called to walk away, leave something behind, it's like that sense of loss. It's like, I gave everything to this. How can I just put it behind me? How can I just throw everything away after all the hard work? And maybe you should reframe it from I'm throwing this away into I really gave that my all. I learned so much. I'm so grateful for my time with whatever that is. And now I'm stepping into a different future. I'm experiencing different things. I'm experiencing a new version of life. And I'm taking all those experiences with me. So I'm going to gladly and happily move into a future experience. And even though I'm leaving this in the past, I'm grateful and a better person for going through that. I've heard of other people say, who are like YouTubers, that maybe they did a different type of YouTube, and then they pivot to like a different field on YouTube, but maybe their original channel that they had didn't get so much traction, but they learned how to edit. They learned how to play around with sound. They learned how to like engage with subscribers. And so maybe they don't do that kind of YouTube anymore. They do a totally different kind of YouTube, but they couldn't have had the success in the second category if they hadn't gone through the first. And I think that's really common in various careers, fields, people's paths in life, even relationships. Even that relationship that crashes and burns, where you get into so many arguments, can teach you how to manage relationships with other people, how to negotiate disagreements that you can carry into the relationship that is for you. So I feel like for you guys, this is about sometimes acknowledging, when the show's over, when we've done enough, when we gave it our all, and maybe it didn't work out, but that's okay. And sometimes it's acknowledging that something that maybe we thought was going to be in our life forever is ready to pivot and go to something new, and that there's no shame in admitting if something isn't working out for you. You can think of life as like a grand adventure, or a school we go to experience, tick off different experiences, experience different things. So just think of it as like, okay, so maybe you got a C in algebra. That's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can still get an A in every other subject and have a really high GPA. You know what I mean? And so it's really not that serious. And I feel like for you guys, you're really being called to kind of go easier on yourself. I feel like you can be really harsh on yourself and really tough on yourself. And I do feel like your guides want you to just kind of like calm down, relax, and think also, I'm really getting messages about your own health. Like I feel like for a lot of you guys, you just feel really burnt out, and your physical health is getting a little bit run down. Of course, I'm not a doctor. You should always see a doctor for advice. But I just feel like you guys maybe need more sleep, need more rest, need to chill. there's, it's really important that we do look after our physical bodies as well as our emotional bodies. And sometimes when we're working ourselves to the bone, we don't give ourselves any time to rejuvenate, to relax, to recharge our batteries. Just like you can't expect your iPhone to work if it's completely out of power, we have to look after our physical selves as well. And so sometimes we think it's counterproductive, or we're wasting time, or we're being lazy by having a weekend where we sleep in until noon. That is not lazy. If that's what your body is needing and that's what your body is telling you, then that's what you should do. You wouldn't get mad at your iPhone if it was like, oh, I'm still not charged yet, and I've been charging for a few hours, but I'm still only at 80%. She'd be like, okay, that's what this phone needs. That's what it needs, whatever. And so give that energy to yourself. Stop being someone who overextends yourself to the level you have. Let's get some astrology dice for pile number 3. So we got Aries, the 11th house, and we got Uranus. So we have double Aquarius energy. I'm going to spin this one more time. 12th house Pisces. Okay. So Aries energy is all about the self. It's about me. It's about what I want. And it's about going for things. It's ruled by Mars, and Mars loves a challenge. Mars loves to get after things. And Mars is also highly energetic. Again, the message I'm getting for you guys is there may need to be a little bit of an energetic reset for yourself. Even cleaning your house, cleaning your home, like saging it to clear out some old energy, or taking a spiritual bath to relax your energy more may be very helpful for you. I feel like with Aries though, Aries is all about prioritizing yourself. So sometimes we can overgive to serve others. We're so worried about trying to serve this person and help that person and make sure that person's okay, that we don't actually make sure we're okay and that we are recharged and that we are feeling good. We can't be our best selves or help others unless we have helped ourselves first. And if we're run down, if we have no energy, if we have nothing to give, then that's not going to help anyone else either. So sometimes being selfish is actually the best thing you can do for the collective, because it does allow you to help other people. Then we also have Uranus. That is the planet of the innovator, the genius. Uranus is connected to Aquarius and the 11th house. And so that is the house of other people. It's also the house of hopes, dreams, wishes. So kind of like manifestations. And I do feel like for a lot of you guys, these manifestations you've been trying to make happen, they are already in action. They're already in gear. They're already on the way. You've already manifested whatever it is. So knowing that, you can kind of take a step back, relax, calm down. Stop stressing out about it. Stop stressing out about the timeline and just enjoy the place where you're at now, and find ways to actively relax, recharge yourself, and make yourself feel good. And by that same token, we have 12th house Pisces, and the 12th house is really a house of kind of like rejuvenation, in my opinion. It's also a house of undoing. There's some negativity associated with the 12th house, so I'm not neglecting that. But it's also associated with a lot of quiet places like convents, prisons, insane asylums, but spiritual places as well. And all of those places, to me, I guess what I think of is like the quiet of a convent, the quiet of a prison, and the fact that you're not really expected to do anything else. Maybe this is just the Pisces in me putting a silver lining on the energy of Neptune in the 12th house. But to me, I literally love convents. I love those kinds of places. I just feel like I can relax so much whenever I'm in like a really peaceful, I don't know, even like graveyards. I love the quiet of that. And I always think that there's something so restful about those kinds of places. So yeah, I don't mind 12th house places as much as others do. I know some people hate the 12th house, hate 12th house energy, but I feel differently as a Pisces, no surprise. But anyway, when I think about that, I also think about the fact that Neptune Pisces is a spiritual energy, and I get the best downloads in places of quiet, in places of peace. And even something like prison that seems negative on the surface. A lot of people will write like they're, a magnum opus. They will write, there's been so many like historical figures that write like this powerful book from jail, and that changes the world, So sometimes being in jail, it's kind of like this concentrated energy where you're being taken out of the rat race and forced into prison, forced into solitary confinement, and you're forced to be alone with your thoughts. And you also have no expectation expectation to work, right? You have no expectation to like be productive and go to a 9 to 5 job and all those things that kind of keep us occupied. So people can be afraid of that 12th house energy, but I actually think going into a place of deep rest that can sometimes be induced in like a prison, in an insane asylum, in a convent, or by a graveyard or something like that. As scary as that may seem, it also can be really how we connect to the divine and how we hear spirit. So again, there's that message. Maybe there's messages from spirit that spirit wants to give you, but because you're not sleeping as much, or because you're not getting as much rest, or because you're so strung out with stress all the time, that you're not actually hearing it. So how can you really prioritize rest, prioritize sleep? I think spirit is really asking you this, to make sure that that's something that you really seek out and make an active effort to make happen in your life. It's not something that necessarily is going to just randomly find you. Sometimes you have to make the conscious choice to rest and to seek out those places that allow you to rest. So if you're in a really loud like building, maybe you might have to actively look into like noise cancellation headphones, or earplugs, or a sound machine, or moving to another place. Sometimes you got to admit when something just isn't working out, and you got to make steps around that, take action to correct that. So yeah, I think that's what I have for you, pile number 3. I really hope it resonated. If it did, let me know down in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys, so let me know your thoughts, and give this a like and hit the subscribe button. And if you want to see more of my readings, head on over to my Patreon. I just posted a reading all about your innate gifts and talents that you were born with. And before that, I posted a reading all about what God wants you to focus on. I also posted another reading, but I'm completely blanking on the subject, to be honest. And then before that, posted an 18 plus, what are their late night thoughts of you? But there's so many readings over on Patreon. I can't even remember the other title I just posted over there. So that tells you how many readings we have over there, over 75 exclusive readings you'll only find on Patreon, and you also get early and ad-free access to all my YouTube videos. So if that sounds good to you and you want to sign up, head to the link underneath the timestamps in the comments in the description and join me over on Patreon. And if you would like to get a private session with me, you can get that at my website, briarrosetarot.com. You can sign up for a half hour or a full hour-long session with me, have me pull tarot for you, read your astrology, or channel for you. So like I said, that's the link in my description, Briar Rose Tarot, and I would love to see you there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I am sending you so much love and light, and I'll be back again very soon with another reading. Take care, guys. Bye.